asleep within 5 seconds. So I lied to him and said, I'm writing some stories for kids, and would you mind reading them and see if you think kids might like them? I've never done this before. He said yes. And so I'd find him each Friday, and I'd give him, he'd be up a tree or down a hole or hiding, and I'd say, come in, here's your story. And he'd go off and read it and report back to me. That was good. But about the third or fourth week, a rather interesting thing happened. He came to me when he arrived home from school and said, where's my story? And then a few weeks after that, there's a story in book one where there's a section in book one where Will climbs a tower at midnight, he climbs in, he's in a dark room, he reaches out to a desk for a piece of paper and a hand comes out of the darkness and grabs his wrist. And I thought I'd done a pretty good job on that scene. Michael came back to me with it and said, I got frightened. When I read this, I got frightened, and I didn't know you could get frightened reading. And that's probably the best compliment I've ever had. So I kept writing those stories for about 5 months. I wrote 20 of them. And by the end of that, I got involved in the TV series, and so I was a little distracted from writing those stories. I just put them away for, as it turned out, I think it's 10 or 12 years. Every now and again, I'd take them out and look at them and mess with them a little bit. Probably 10, 12 years. It was my daughter, Katie, who said to me, you should turn them into a book. And so I took them out, joined them all together, gave them to my agent and said, what do you think of this? She said, I love the characters. I love the dialogue. I love the setting. There's one small problem. There's no story. Which I believe is necessary for a book. One of the lessons I've learned, it's good to have a story. And I said, yeah, there are 20 stories. And she said, that's the problem. There are 20 stories. There's no connecting story. So I took it back and started rewriting. And, my agent, Rachel's been very influential in the success of this series. I realise that now. And I started to get rather interested in it, and this book became longer and longer. And in fact, when I went to write this, even though I'd written them for Michael originally as a 12-year-old, and I wrote them very simply for him as a 12-year-old, I thought, well, I'll just write a normal adult fantasy series set in the medieval times. So I sort of, I guess, used more mature language, I suppose, or more sophisticated language. Not that my writing is at all sophisticated, but I made it more for adults, I think. And I think that's why so many children like them, because I just have a voice that I write in, and I don't try to talk down, I don't try to use simple language, I use big words if I need them. My editor in Australia a few times has said, this is a rather big word, children may not understand it. And I've said then they shall get a dictionary and they will learn a new word. And I think that's part of my task, and she's agreed with that. And I thought, yeah, that's a good point. So I think it's one of the reasons why so many kids around the world do like them. And it's also a reason, obviously, why a lot of adults read them as well. But it fascinates me that, I mean, those books were, they got bigger and bigger, and I still thought I was writing an adult book, and Rachel, my agent, said, this is too long. I said, no, it's perfect length. I had a Raymond Edwards book, I said, look at the size of this. They said, yeah, but these are children's books. And I was a little bit insulted, actually. I was quite taken aback. And her thinking was actually a marketing market, because it was a bigger market. But I thought, children's books. And then I realised, and I believe that yesterday a rather obscure English author visited this area by the name of, J.K. Rowling, who I think is just wonderful. I mean, I don't believe there's any jealousy between authors, because I don't believe if people read all of J.K. Rowling's books, it does not mean they will not read mine. In fact, it's more likely they will read mine. I think I've said in the past she's created a generation of readers, and people say, oh no, they were there. Well, she's awakened a generation of readers, and I think every other children's author has had the benefit of that. I think she's a wonderful woman. She deserves every penny she's made, and if she's richer than the Queen of England, that's good. I do, and I think it brings me to another point that, I mean, my books now, I'm delighted with my success. I would love to be as successful as her, but I'm pretty happy where I am. The books have been translated now into... Oh, as I say, sorry, Rachel told me they were too long, and I said, well, what about if I cut it in half? And she went, that'd be good. And then the second book got a little long, so I cut that in half, and the third book. So what started as one book became four. Rachel was a very astute young lady because I would have sold the book for one fee. I got four. This is what I call a good agent. They became four, and that was the basis of the first series, the first story cycle. And they were taken back. I'm thrilled by the fact that I had all those rejections. I'm not thrilled that I had the rejections. I can now joke about getting rejected and kicking the cat and stuff. But at the time, it really did hurt. And it interests me that this series, there was never a rejection. Random House in Australia were the first publisher who took it to. They accepted it straight away. And from there it grew. And I think maybe... Have we worked out that Denmark was second? Or?
I think so.
Yeah. Denmark, I think, was the second country that picked up the series. America was the third. And of course, America is such a gigantic market that was the time when I could say, well, now I can do this full-time. I don't have to do other work. And that was, it's my day of freedom, my personal freedom day, because I just love doing this. And if you can find a job you love doing, you're the happiest person in the world. I mean, I was saying to some kids the other day, you know, when you're at school and it's Friday and you come home from school and you instantly do your homework, correct? Get it out of the way, straight, yeah, we all do that. And then Sunday night, you've had a really nice weekend, you've played some sport, you've gone to the movies. And Sunday night you're sitting there and you suddenly think, tomorrow's Monday. And oh boy, I'm going back to school. Or, oh, I'm going back to work. What fun. I actually had that feeling not long ago. I was watching TV, oh, it's Sunday night, and what do I care? Because tomorrow I'll do something I love. And it is, it's a wonderful, wonderful life. And it also, it means I get to travel. It means I get to come to Denmark, which I've been to Holland last week, and I'm in Denmark now. And it may please you, I hope it does please you to know that Holland is a larger country, obviously a larger population, but Holland and Denmark are my two most important markets in Europe. More important than England to me. I sell more books in Holland and Denmark than anywhere else, more than in France, although the French are now incensed by this, and they're going to try and sell more. Good. But I'm grateful to you for giving me the opportunity to come here, because I would never have thought of coming to Denmark. I thought nobody in Denmark spoke English, for a start. And it's amazing to come from the other side of the world and the bottom of the world and come here and see so many. It is such a welcoming country and such a friendly country. It is a joy to be here. We had a brief stay in Paris in between the two countries, and my wife and I looked at the news and thought, thank God we got out of Paris and we're here. It's a delightful place to be, and other than the books, I probably wouldn't have thought to come here. So thank you all for that. I really appreciate it. And just probably for the younger people, and maybe for some of the older people, I do have a lesson that I've learned out of all this, and so there's got to be a moral. I have to give you a message to take home. And I'm sorry about that, I'm going to do it. But it interests me because while I'm having a fabulous time, I'm touring here, I toured America twice, I'm going back to America next year, next year for another tour. Obviously I do a lot of touring in Australia. I'm meeting so many people. I love the fact that I will meet someone like yourself, who I assume has read the books, and there's someone like you 15,000 kilometres away who's read them in a totally different language, and that just fascinates me. It fascinates me that I can pick up, if there were one here, I could pick up a book of mine here and I couldn't read a word of it. It does, that's such... the only part I understand is John Flanagan, who says that. And so I tend to point. It's a fabulous feeling. And the books are now in